New World Order. Billions of people on planet Earth are living in ignorance. Before your very eyes, politicians are advancing a global plan. Since the time of Napoleon, secret societies have been influencing politicians to take over and conquer Europe. Now, in the 21st century, their work of ages is coming to fruition. The New World Order is about the centralization of power. It's about silencing any public criticism of the system. It's about commercializing and selling everything as a product. It's about letting China torture students and still allowing them to host the Olympics. It's about closing down government-owned schools and hospitals, turning them into apartments, and then letting private companies make profits from teaching your children or selling you drugs. The secret societies and political organizations running the New World Order use various symbols and numbers. Once you learn their secret language, you too will have the all-seeing eye. All-seeing eye.
Marii Logi Naționale a României, prin puterile ce mi s-au conferit, declar deschise lucrările ritualice de investire și conferire a luminii pentru prea respectabila lojă de ritualistică comparată și cercetări francmasonice.
Atotputernice, Romare Maestre, atotputernice Mare Secretar, și vouă, frați cavaleri, ascultați cum vuiesc veacurile prin aceste ogive, ascultați cu timpanele îndumnezeite ale acestui pământ, cohortele care vin din ceasa timpului, iată-l pe Gelu, iată-l pe Glad, iată-l pe Menemorut, iată cavalerii teutoni, iată-l pe Fonsalța, care va prinde pentru prima dată prima teatră edificând Sibiul. Este un ceas extraordinar în care gongul istoriei adeverește punctul de întâlnire între masoneria operativă și masoneria căreia noi îi spunem astăzi speculativă. Dar n-a existat o masonerie operativă. Noi venim foarte departe, venind într-o civilizație a lemnului. Actele noastre, hrisoavele noastre se cheamă Cucuteni, se cheamă Dunărea de Jos. Această mare loje națională a României, unica legitimă pe acest pământ, continuă efortul pe care generația mea, sfânta mea generație, îmi întinde mâinile de sub pământ. Și dacă vrei să auzi inima pământului cum bate, pleacă-ți fruntea pe glia transilvană și vei auzi de acolo vocea fratelui Iancu, de la care a trecere în eternitate s-au împlinit acum 130 de ani. Dar sunt fără însemnătate pentru noi. Lucrăm în eternitate, sub înalta înțelepciune acestui mare Consiliu și sub mintea, inima și harul marelui maestru Viorel Daracu. Și lucrăm sub forța voastră, dragii mei, maestri venerabili, de pe toată întinderea țării românești, din rotundul ei, ca o pâine de grâu. Voi, dragii mei maestri venerabili, sunteți inima cu bătăile ei în gongul eternității, acolo unde ați fost hărăziți astăzi, când ați îngenunchiat în fața acestui sfânt altar. Revine masoneriei române să-și aducă efortul ca România, sfânta noastră, îndumnezeita noastră Românie, să-și ocupe locul pe care îl merită în lume. Și trebuie să știe această Europa, care pe noi ne-a vitrejit, că suntem singura masonerie din lume care am traversat ciuma nazistă și care am traversat victorioși, menținând verticalitatea coloanelor, 45 de ani de noapte roșie, 45 de ani de groază. Dumnezeu a fost cu noi cum a fost întotdeauna. De aceea, misiunea Marii Loji Naționale a României este extraordinară. Dragii mei, s-a schimbat lumea. Au apărut criterii noi de apreciere. Au apărut mutații în, cum să-i spui, Doamne, în raportul dintre uman și sacru, în mutații în intelect și în afect. Fiți cavalerii acestui timp, aveți harul, simți de undeva, cred că tot cohorda celor care nu mai sunt, rugându-se de sub pământ și implorând pe Marele Arhitect al Universului, ca puterile cu care a fost înveziți astăzi să rodească, să facă ca țara asta să-și ocupe locul pe care îl merită în lume. Nu numai o gânduirea acestui pământ, dar grație frăției sale am putut să fac legătura dintre un trecut care nu mai e și un viitor care apare ca o făgăduială. Când m-am pornit către cetatea aceasta,
cu toții, într-o gloria mare de arhitect al Universului, pentru ilustru, pentru tata Micu, primul mare maestru ales, pentru voi, membrii ai Marelui Consiliu al Marii Loji Naționale a României, pentru voi, venerabilii, respectabilelor și atotputernicilor loji din Orientele pe care le ocupați, vă rog ca prin semn, baterie și aclamație cu toții să vă uniți într-o această onoare. Vă rog! Libertate! Egalitate! Fraternitate! Să-mi fie permis a să repeta și a urla cu voce tare toți! Libertate! Egalitate! Fraternitate! Ridicați-vă, frații mei, iar ție-ți mulțumesc pentru ceremonii. Binevoiește să închizi cartea sfântă și convoacă luminătorii spre a face volta de lumină.
Frate Nicu Filip, primul mare maestru al masoneriei române.
Zapfenstreich! Halt!
În ciuda frigului de afară, dar și a ninsorii abundente, târgoviștenii nu au progetat să iasă pe platoul prefecturii Dâmbovița în această seară pentru a admira defilarea cu torțe. Pe acordurile fanfarei, militarii, pompierii și jandarmii au încheiat la ceas de seară suita de manifestări dedicate zilei de 1 decembrie la Târgoviște, defilând cu torțele pe străzile orașului într-o ceremonie simbolică de cinstire a memoriei celor căzuți pentru patrie de-a lungul istoriei.
So we're in a warfare, good against evil. And we happen to be the evil ones, but we're not that bad. He says, I look at this business between the forces of good and evil. He says, you believe in one person believes in God, and everyone believes in Lucifer. It's like politics.
So the great controversy is real. And you've heard someone talk about it that's on the other side.
And to these people, they are sold to the fact that Christ will not return to this planet with power and great glory. He's going to abdicate all claims to the planet, because the high priest once said that Christ will abdicate all claim to the planet because he knows that it is lawfully and rightfully Satan's. And at that time he says, Lucifer, you mentioned Lucifer a lot of times, but he mentions Satan also. He says, the master, usually they like to talk about the master will resurrect his people from the graves.
Now, George is telling you all this, or the high priest?
George.
Okay, when the evening wound down, and you're putting a cap on all that, you guys had consumed some alcohol.
Yeah.
And did you feel like that there was kind of a one-shot deal? You didn't know if it ever happened again? What happened after
Well,
that?
he said, no, I said, listen, guys. He said, I like to have you, he says, meet some of our people. But about next week, Wednesday evening, I'll pick you up at your place, and you're invited to one of our services.
Services? Like a church service?
Yeah, something similar like that. It's a testimonial to the spirits, about how the spirits have blessed your life. So, when we left there, I said to myself, this guy is half drunk. I'm not going to hear from him again, you know. But it was true. Wednesday night came, he was there with his big Lincoln, step in, and we went to one of the most beautiful area of Montreal. And the place was a mansion. A mansion is usually very large. We'll call this a small mansion. It was beautiful. Most beautiful place.
Roger, your friend George took you and Roland to this mansion where people worshipped the demons.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like there? What kind of people were there?
Well, it was a big surprise for me, as I kind of made up in my mind an idea that they were going to be rough-looking characters. But as we entered the place, I was amazed to see that they were all very well dressed, well-mannered, and that a lot of the people, as we were being introduced to people, were professionals, doctors, attorneys, a lot of business people. And see what they had a praise session to the gods, which is the spirit counselors, which are in charge of legions of spirits, of demon spirits. And they talk about what the Lord of their lives has done for them, because they call on particular spirits, like the god Nehushtan, which you read in 2 King about. The Israelites worshipped the golden serpent that Moses had made. Mm-hmm. Well, behind the spirit worship, behind that, they were worshipping the serpent. They were actually worshipping this spirit Nehushtan. And the same spirit Nehushtan is, the priest was telling us, that the medical doctor that was telling us how he was making operations that had never been made before, because people had to be awake, yet have no feeling. He was able to, carry on the surgeries that had not been done before. Mm-hmm. But the spirits would give that capacity to be able to operate without people feeling any pain and things. And also without no problem with the blood, because as he would cut his incisions, everything open and with no blood running. Mm-hmm. So he could do the work that has not been done before. So.
Now, I recall reading in your book that at this praise worship service they had, they would sing hymns. Why would they sing hymns in a demon worship?
Yeah, this was kind of a big surprise to me when that took place. The priest said, hey, let's go down to the worship room of the gods and have a praise session, a singing session. So we go down there, and what did you think they pass around? Church hymnals, Christian church hymnals. And I couldn't believe this. I said, what's his business? So the priest says, well, now, he says, for those of you that are new, let me tell you that this is the most feasible way, he says, to please the spirits. It's to deride Christ and his people, and his church and all that. So they sing out of Christian hymnals.
They didn't sing Christian words to the hymns, however.
Well, they changed a lot of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and not for the good.
It's a form of blasphemy. Yeah. Such as you see today in the rock music world. You see the entertainers, they have these crosses. Mm-hmm. Ladies got earrings, crosses. The guys got the cross. This is a form of blasphemy, a form of deriding Christ. You see, spirits cause the people to do that, to find pleasure in wearing this type of emblem, which is the cross is the emblem of the crucifixion of Christ to the Christians.
So what were your impressions the first time you went down into that worship room?
Well, it was, we'd been there maybe a half a dozen times, and the high priest told us after the meeting was over, he wanted to talk to us, my friend and I. So after most people had left, he says, the master of my life has revealed to me that it is time for you people to become acquainted with the worship room of the gods. Well, we started to move toward a beautiful grand staircase. Beautiful. The banister was huge, it was massive, and the wrought iron work that they had done in it was super. The beautiful decorations on the walls, the chandelier on the first landing. So that was the first landing. You go down about 8 or 10 steps, and then you had the first landing. It was huge and beautiful. The light arrangement was the nicest I had ever seen in my life. When we got into this sanctuary area, it wasn't very brightly lit, but everything was well magnified. The beauty of certain things, you know, like a lot of the things were gold plated or gold trimmed. See, the little altars where they had the spirits that had materialized, they photographed them, and then they had paintings made of them. And there was probably about maybe 100 of those around the place.
Sort of like a shrine?
Yeah, and underneath there was a little altar where you have incense and things that they would use in their prayer sessions and things like that, devotions to certain spirits. And some of the objects in there, the priest said, were solid gold. It was a unique experience to see that.
So how did you feel when you walked into that room?
I felt that these people had power, and they had a lot of it.
Did that attract you?
Yes and no.
You had mixed feelings about it?
I had mixed feelings about it, yeah. Because to a certain extent, things looked so good, it sounded so good to us. But you see, I'd been brought up in a Christian home where my parents had told us we were 8 children in the family, and especially the older ones, you know. My dad says, well, you know, if you get involved in wrongdoing, you're going to have to pay the price. There's always a cost for everything in this world. So this thought kept creeping into my mind. Just how far you go with these spirits before we start paying the price. See?
So it made you just a little bit nervous.
Oh, yes.
But yet you kept going back.
Oh, there was no way out. Because that's what we're told.
You knew at that time.
Yeah.
So you were moving forward more on fear.
More on fear, yes. Because the high priest said that the master had special plans for us in our lives. And that no one ever went into this society unless they were invited by the spirits. See, so that was made very clear. And he also expressed to us the danger, explained to us the danger of going against the will of the spirits. And he mentioned about this one man and his wife that live in a fireproof building in Montreal. The place burned right down with him in it. He was one of their members that had decided that, well, he wanted to think things over. He was not going to get initiated at a time that the spirit said he would like him to be initiated into the society.
So in reality, Roger, you were chosen by high-powered demon spirits to be a part of their human, special, privileged group.
You see, these people in Montreal, the society, like the priest mentioned, there's thousands of spirit worshippers in all these different societies of spirit worshippers in this world. But he says we are the elite. We know the real truth about the master and his angels. And they are not hideous-looking beings. They are gorgeous creatures. And from the paintings that they had on the wall of walls of that worship room, they were unique beings. Especially there was a painting full size, full length painting of the fallen Lucifer above his altar. And that was very fascinating, because he looked like a man of great intellect, high forehead, the way that he looked with his eyes, the way he had the eyes looking. It gave you a depth of perception of somebody that is very, very knowledgeable and
Powerful.
Powerful, yeah.
So Roger, this high priest that you talked about, he is the one that ushered you down into the worship room.
Mm.
Was he also the one that led out in the praise sessions that you talked about?
Yes, and he had an assistant also, another priest.
Okay. Now, when you would go to these praise sessions,
Mm.
what kinds of things happened at those sessions?
Well, there's a lot of success stories.
Positive mental attitude kinds of things?
Well, yes, a lot of success stories. The masters has done this for me and that for me. I remember one lumber dealer, he had like half a dozen different operations in the province of Quebec. And everything that he touched seemed to turn to money. And he was telling about it. And then there's this other person that was a clairvoyant that would work only for the wealthy people, only for the super wealthy. He says, I have the know-how, they have the means, let them pay. So he advised in business transactions. He would come to him and say, listen, I look at this deal that I might get, this factory or whatever it is, because this person was interested in industrial real estate. See? And he would talk to the spirit, and then the spirit was audible to him. See, you could hear the spirit talk to him, but the man did not hear. So the spirit was telling the clairvoyant what, well, he called himself an astrologer, reading the moons and the stars, and
Now, what was the term you used for his title, this man?
Clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant.
Oh, clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant. Okay. Yes, and it was interesting. This person stood up and says, I had a nice little experience last week. And he says, the masters, he says, they take care of you. This lady and her husband brought him, to this astrologer, a bundle of money. They said, this is the deal that you... And he works at only on percentages. Only on percentages. He doesn't work for set amounts of money. Only percentages of what the people are going to make. So he said, they brought me a substantial amount of money. And they were very happy with it, and I thought it was very reasonable. But then my guide, spirit, says, ask them when they're going to give you the other $1,700 that is really yours.
Now it is interesting that in secret societies there are always two doctrines. One for the initiated and one for the goyim, the uninitiated. And the Knights Templars had two doctrines. The one was the inside esoteric occult doctrine, and the other one was the exoteric, the one to the outside, and that was Catholicism. So the masses received a religion which the insiders turned on its head. Amongst occult insiders, Lucifer is the true Son of God. Jesus is a second son who was defeated by the first one who had been thrown out. So Lucifer is the true luminary, the victor in the battle, and will be the one who will be worshipped at the end of time. That is occult doctrine. That's always been the doctrine of the Kabbalah, the Kabbalist doctrine, and it has been the doctrine of Gnosticism. But of course, it's not what the Bible teaches, but then Catholicism doesn't teach what the Bible teaches either.
Here's the way they look at it. Here's their metaphor for the end of innocence. Adam and Eve were held prisoner in the Garden of Eden by an unjust, cruel, and vindictive God. Lucifer, through his agent Satan, set man free from this garden by giving him the gift of intellect. Through the use of intellect, man will conquer the earth, will conquer nature, and will himself become God. It's taught in every Masonic temple in this land. Every secret brotherhood, every secret society, every mystical temple, every occult organization teaches the Luciferian philosophy. They do not believe in Lucifer. They do not believe in any entity called a devil, and they do not believe in God. It is a mistake for you to assume that they do. They are atheists in the strictest sense of the word. They are humanists. That's their religion. At the highest level, their goal is to create a world in which the adepts, the 1,000 points of light, working behind the veil to create the culmination of the great plan, can realize the ultimate happiness for mankind. That's why they don't oppose pornography. That's why they don't oppose certain crimes. That's why they say you should not be put in jail for the rest of your life for murder or anything else. There should be no death penalty, because it was a learning experience. And having gone through that learning experience, you're a better person now. This is what they teach. They believe punishment for these crimes is nothing more than vengeful retribution, which is wrong in their eyes. So these are really the two philosophies that we have competing with each other in the world today. Who brought man the gift of fire? Prometheus. Who was Prometheus? Lucifer. What was the gift of fire? Knowledge, intellect. Hasn't man created industry, culture, society, science from the use of one solitary thing? Fire. Without fire, none of it would have occurred. None of it. Nothing. There would be no society without fire. That's how it's represented in the ancient myths and in the mysteries. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? What is it represented as? A bolt of lightning struck a tree. The tree burst into flames. Ancient man, if you watch the movie Quest for Fire, rushed up and grabbed one of the burning branches, and it burned his hand and he let it go. He probably didn't go any farther than that the first time. Second time, he may have found a deer that had been roasted by the heat of the fire in the forest. And being hungry, maybe he partook of some of that meat and found that it tasted pretty good. Also, the fire was warm and didn't get cold at night. And this is where the whole battle between the forces of light and darkness comes from. Man sat up on a rock one night watching the sunset and said, "Boy, I'm in deep trouble now. I can't see in the dark. There's wild beasts out there. There's tigers with teeth 7 inches long that want me for dinner. What am I going to do?" He didn't know what to do. Neither would many of us put in that situation. But we would know one thing: we're in deep trouble. And so for a good part of his history, man sat huddled in the darkness in some place that made him feel secure, waiting to be saved. There are Remember, folks, I'm not telling you what I believe. I'm telling you what is taught in the mysteries. I'm telling you what our enemies believe. Make no mistake about it, they are our mortal enemies. They want to see us wiped off the face of the earth. A man huddled in this darkness, fearful, trembling, cold, hungry. And around about he could hear the beasts roaring. And sometimes they were roaring because they were after him. And sometimes he was eaten. A man eventually saw another tree struck by lightning and grabbed that branch with that flame on it. And by a little experimentation, he learned how to keep that fire going. And if he could keep the fire going, he knew something nobody else knew, and he became the first king, the first priest, the first scientist, all rolled into one. And he would burn this fire and keep it going. And other men in the cold of the night, wanting to escape from the terrors that were out there, would gravitate toward this glow. And they would see this man sitting there. And if he was kind, he would let them come to the fire. And they would be warm. And they would be protected, because if the wild beast came, he'd pick up a branch and shove it in its face, and the beast would go away. And so the forces of light overcame the forces of darkness, and in the sunshine of the morning, the newly risen, resurrected child that had died the night before, their Savior, warmed them and saved them from the terrors of the Prince of Darkness. You have to study these things to understand your enemy. Any general who ventures upon a battlefield without understanding the enemy is doomed to defeat. What is the upshot of this? What am I getting at here? These people believe, and they have conducted themselves according to their belief and their philosophy since the very dawn of man. These people learned how to control others through the use of a hidden knowledge. This ability to keep that fire going was a technology that nobody else knew. By observing the fire, by keeping it going, by creating ceremonies around this fire, they became a mystery to the others. A mystery always holds sway over those who don't understand it. And the priesthood was born. No king ever existed without the permission of the priesthood. I don't care what religion you're talking about or what period of history you're talking about, it is the truth. The kings never had the power and don't to this day. Kings exist at the whim of the real power, which is the priesthood standing behind the throne. So when the king ceased to be of benefit to the priesthood, they would simply poison him and get rid of him in some other way. The king is dead, long live the king, and there would be another king appointed. There was even a time in history when the king was a sacrificial king, just like John F. Kennedy was in the Temple of the Sun known as Dealey Plaza. They would pick a young man with the height of his virility, appoint him king for 1 year. During that time, he could do or say or command whatever he wanted. The priesthood was always there to make sure he commanded the right things, have any woman that he wanted, and at the end of the year, he was ceremoniously sacrificed upon a rock, his heart ripped out, his body dismembered into 14 pieces and scattered over the land. And this is where the legend of the Osirian cycle began. It was to ensure the fertility of the crops of the next year. And young men would volunteer for this in their patriotic duty to their kingdom, to their family, so that they could have prosperous years. Much as our young men may volunteer to rush out over the water to a place called Kuwait or Iraq and die in the godforsaken sands of a place that nobody can even find on a map. We need to do some serious evaluating, some very serious checking out of agendas. You know what's wonderful about America? You can have a press. You see, what happens when you broadcast the truth is you piss everybody off. I want you all to get interested in this. All of you should be publishing a newsletter or a newspaper. All of you should be documenting what you publish. All of you should have a satellite receiving station and be rebroadcasting programming to your neighborhood. All you got to do is make sure that you're broadcasting on a frequency that's not interfering with any other broadcast. You have to let other people be free, even if they disagree with you. And I believe in freedom.
Get up!
That's it. So that God can behold you in all your filth, whore. The way you knocked the prefect's whore. Heathen.
Look, she's not reacting.
She'll scream all right when we skin her alive. How many of you have knives?
No. Don't stain your hands with impure blood.
Let's stone her. Let's stone this witch.
Get some stones.
Quickly.
The ones we threw at our enemies, they are still here.
Fancy.
De-a lungul întregii călătorii, toți spuneau că vom cunoaște o frumoasă doamnă care poartă o torță și nu puteam să mi-o închipui. Când am văzut-o, am strigat: "Mamă, mamă, vino aici, vino aici, asta este libertatea." Torța aceea de sus parcă spune: "Bine ați venit."
În sfârșit am ajuns pe tărâmul făgăduinței. Vreau să spun la statuia libertății. Frumoasă, frumoasă femeie.
Am întrebat-o pe mama ce înseamnă. Mama m-a îmbrățișat și mi-a spus: "Înseamnă America."
Se ridică din apele portului New York un colos de metal al timpurilor moderne, cel mai mare vreodată realizat până în zilele noastre, cel mai durabil simbol al speranțelor Americii. Ca și milioanele de noi americani care au trecut pe sub ea, povestea statuii a început dincolo de mare, într-o țară care traversa vremuri tulburi. Anul 1865. În Paris, legea aducătoare de război a împăratului Napoleon al III-lea a transformat visul democratic al Revoluției franceze într-o amintire neclară. Pentru unii dintre liberalii francezi, America simboliza adevărata purtătoare a torței idealurilor democratice care se pierduseră în Franța. Ei tângeau după ideea fraternității care i-a unit odată pe Lafayette și Washington. Printre ei se afla și un sculptor, Frederic Bartholdi, care s-a hotărât să ofere un dar monumental noii națiuni. Voi încerca să preamăresc Republica și libertatea acolo, cu speranța că într-o bună zi le voi găsi din nou și aici. El a vrut ca darul său să fie primul lucru pe care vizitatorii îl vor vedea atunci când vor ajunge în lumea nouă, motiv pentru care a ales insula Bedloes ca fiind locul potrivit pentru amplasarea sa. Dacă americanii plăteau piedestalul, el se obliga ca Franța să finanțeze uriașa statuie. Bartholdi avea tendința de a proiecta totul la dimensiuni mari. Lucrările sale anterioare aveau un aer bombastic și conotații patriotice, dar toate au pălit în fața noului proiect, la cărui realizare a trudit 15 ani. A numit-o Libertatea luminând lumea. Mulajul statuii a reprezentat cea mai mare realizare a lui Bartholdi. În Franța, el a început să creeze tipare din teracotă și bronz de dimensiuni din ce în ce mai mari. A construit apoi rame de lemn care să se potrivească, după care a aplicat ipsosul. În atelierul său din Paris au fost prelucrate cu grijă plăci uriașe de cupru norvegian, fiecare având în final grosimea unei monede de 50 de cenți pentru a se potrivi în mulajul de ipsos. Fiecare trăsătură a personajului, de la păr și până la faldurile rochiei, a fost fixată în locul potrivit, totul fiind făcut manual. Culoarea originală, un maron închis ca un bănuț vechi, a căpătat treptat o patină gri-verzuie datorită aerului sărat al Atlanticului. Uriașa statuie are de înfruntat de asemenea vânturi care suflă cu viteze de până la 150 de km pe oră și să rămână la verticală. Bartholdi s-a consultat cu cel mai strălucit inginer de structură al Franței, Gustave Eiffel, pentru a proiecta un sistem ingenios de rezistență care presupunea 1800 de suspensii, inclusiv un schelet principal și o serie de bare rezistente la presiune care permiteau plăcilor de cupru să se dilate și să se contracte conform condițiilor climaterice, fără să se sfărâme. Numai platforma de susținere construită de Eiffel era cea mai înaltă structură de metal de atunci, ridicând-o pe doamna cea uriașă deasupra acoperișurilor Parisului, astfel încât să o vadă toți. Dar în timp ce Parisul era uimit, America se blocase. Contribuțiile veneau încet, mult sub cei $250.000 necesari pentru piedestal. Bartholdi a luat atunci uriașa torță într-un turneu prin Statele Unite pentru a strânge fonduri, iar curioșii erau invitați să se urce pe ea. În cele din urmă, jurnalistul Joseph Pulitzer i-a convins pe locuitorii New Yorkului să contribuie la realizarea piedestalului. Acesta este el însuși o capodoperă. A fost proiectat de Richard Morris Hunt nu numai pentru a o susține, ci să se și armonizeze cu statuia, suportând în același timp o greutate mai mare de 225 de tone de fier și cupru. Până în anul 1885, Franța contribuise deja cu mai mult de $400.000 la acest proiect, iar Bartholdi muncise 14 ani. Statuia completă a fost dezasamblată și trimisă spre noua ei casă în peste 200 de containere, 39 fiind folosite numai pentru șuruburi. Când statuia a fost reasamblată un an mai târziu în New York, americanii au văzut pentru prima oară ceea ce urma să devină simbolul speranței pentru un val de nou veniți în deceniile următoare. Dimensiunea finală a statuii era cea a unui bloc de 15 etaje, numai degetul arătător având o lungime de 2,4 metri. Simbolistica libertății este clară. O tăbliță înscrisă cu data 4 iulie 1776. La picioarele ei se află lanțurile rupte ale sclaviei. Coroana sa cu 7 colțuri năzuiește spre cele 7 continente și spre cele 7 mări și ridică în aer simbolul libertății pe care îl arată lumii întregi. Bartholdi a vrut de fapt ca torța să fie aprinsă dinăuntru, dar abia în secolul 20 o lumină electrică slabă se revărsa prin găurile făcute în torță. Originalul se află în prezent expus într-un muzeu din apropiere. În urma restaurărilor recente a fost amplasată o nouă torță, poleită cu aur de 24 de carate pentru a crea efectul de iluminare. Cei care au trecut pe sub această torță erau în căutarea unei vieți mai bune, dezertau din vreo armată pentru a se alătura rudelor, pentru a scăpa de persecuții. Au venit cu speranța că vor găsi aur pe străzi. Au venit în zdrențe. Ironia sorții a făcut ca primele lor ore în ținutul libertății să și le petreacă pe insula Ellis, unde erau forțați să stea ca într-o carantină. Imigranții au numit-o de aceea insula lacrimilor. Aici, la umbra statuii libertății, în jur de 16 milioane de suflete pline de speranță au trecut prin marele hol pentru a-și întâmpina soarta. Unii dintre ei, dovedindu-se a fi necorespunzători din cauza vreunei boli sau deficiențe mentale, erau întorși de la porțile Americii și îmbarcați pe vasele cu care veniseră. Cei mai mulți dintre ei erau primiți pe terenul cel nou, uneori cu nume noi, dar întotdeauna cu speranțe renăscute. În timp ce erau purtați pe bacuri spre metropola New Yorkului, lăsau în urmă colosul cu torță. Poeta Emma Lazarus, fiica unui imigrant evreu rus, a dat statuii un scop pe care Bartholdi nu și l-ar fi imaginat vreodată. Cuvintele sale sunt acum înscrise pe piedestalul statuii.
Veniți la mine voi, cei obosiți, mulțimi sărmane care ați rătăcit cărarea și după libertatea mari tânjiți, voi, cei bătuți de soartă, de adăpost lipsiți, cu torța mea aprinsă, vă luminez intrarea.
Do you believe in fate, Neil?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't like the idea that I'm not in control of my life.
I know exactly what you mean. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there. Like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Matrix?
Do you want to know what it is? The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. What is the Matrix? Control. Matrix is a computer-generated dream world, built to keep us under control.
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.